Now let's get into the cool stuff. Like, how do you structure the event? How do we, how do you like do each bit A, B, and C? In a few breaks, as someone who's a disability advocate, looking at an event or like looking at a screen, for a really long time is long. Don't make it so that if you're performing for an hour because it's long for you, it's long for the audience members, and like only say professional streamers like your Markipliers, if you're a gamer, like whoever, they're the ones who they've done this for like years, so they can go for a stream for like 3 hours straight or do a performance for 3 hours straight. For you, keep it, say like 15 to 20 minutes, have a break, and then come back, or even half an hour, have a break, come back. Whatever it is, make sure you have a break. Even like a 10-minute breather. It just helps people not stay into their screens or whatever. Make sure you have a clear schedule, like I did at the start, so people know what's coming up. And you know how performers are. If something changes or something gets a bit techie, make sure you communicate that. So say if you all say to me in the chat, Anusha, I'm getting tired, I need like a 5-minute breather, I'll be like to everyone, okay guys, I'm having a 5-minute breather. And then at, what time is it now? At 7 o'clock or whatever, we're coming back and we're going to continue with the event. Just make sure you announce it, because when you start doing things like just ad hoc, or you start doing things without telling people can get a bit confused, and it is a bit scary. So yeah, clear schedule, and yeah, try not to make it too rigid. Make sure, and this was something that we did, but something that I always make sure that I do, make sure you send the schedule before the event, if you can. So if you have like a list of all the emails, tell people before what the schedule is. And if your type of event, so if you're doing like an open mic night, for example, and someone drops out last minute or someone gets a bit nervous, like, I need to change it, make sure you say maybe in like the bottom, say like, oh, this is subject to change, so please be aware, but this is the general structure of how it's going to go on. But like as a note aside, if you're doing something like theatre or film, like if you're like promoting, if you're showing a film, then that's a bit harder, because obviously theatre, especially theatre, you've got like set acts, like act 1, act 2, act 3, and to have a break every 15 minutes of a theatre production is a bit long, because you'd be there for the whole day. So think about how you translate your performance online. So for example, that might mean if you're doing something online or theatre, make the whole piece an hour long and have it in 20-minute chunks, or have it in half an hour chunks, or even play it by ear. And if people are kind of like, yeah, it's a great song, okay, I need a break, have a break there. You play it by ear, and I think with practice you'll know. You don't always get it right, I will say, and that's another thing that's going to come up in this presentation. You're not going to get it right the first time round. Just try, figure it out. And yeah, especially when you have different mediums, it requires different things, right? So, fun stuff. Do you do it live or do you do it pre-recorded? Now, this is the big question. This is what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of question. It depends. So you can do whatever works for you. But when I say live, I mean this is me talking live to you, live and direct, a real-time performance. Or do you do a pre-recorded performance? Do you do something that was recorded previously and show it to people in a ticketed style? Let's get on. So, there are pros to live and pre-recorded events. The pros for live is that I can see your faces and it's really cool, and I can talk to, like, I can react to you, and like if you laugh, I'm like, ha, ha, ha. I can laugh, and it's all a good time. It's easy to connect, and if you're a nervous person, I actually find live performance is easier, because like I said, you react to people, so you can see how people are talking to you, and it is really nice. It is really, really nice. This is a personal opinion, actually. People do prefer real-time performances. That's my opinion. I think people respond to real-time events because they feel like involved. It feels like they're a part of it, right? And thus it's easier to get people to attend because they're seeing a real person. It's kind of like, if would you rather see Beyonce perform live right in front of you, be like right in front of your face, or would you like to see Beyonce behind the screen? Like you want to see Beyonce, you want to see the person. So like that's that. But there are pros to pre-recorded. So if you are like me and you're a musician and you use sound and like technical sound, it is easier to control with pre-recorded performances. You can, if it's less likely for things to go wrong. You can respond to comments quicker. So say if this was like a video and I was just talking, say if something went wrong and I was like, oh no, if something went, I can't see this. So I could just tip of a button and I fix it. If I'm talking like right now and I'm, keeping an eye on the chat and whatever, but I can't, there's a bit of a delay there and it kind of disrupts the whole performance. And especially if you're a songwriter, like halfway through a song and then hearing, I can't hear the thing. Oh no. Like, and then you've got to go back and read, it's the worst. So on that front, have someone like Noli and, be in the background and have them help out. But yeah, so that is something to think about. And also, and this again, personal point, it can work around your disability. If you're disabled, it can work around your disability. If you're someone like me who has flare-ups that are really unpredictable, then you may want to do a pre-recorded performance. And you might be able to do fun things with it. Like you could perform, I don't know, in the bath or wherever as like a joke, and then have that as a live showing of it. Like you can work around it. So excuse me. This is all like personal opinions. I don't think there is anything better. I just think there's something people respond to, but do what works for you. A theatre production might work better for, pre-recorded performances. Sometimes they might work better live. A dance might be work better and productions. Yes, some might work better live. Like I said, notice that if you're nervous, pre-recorded is so much easier. It depends on, it also depends on what you do, because if you're doing comedy, for example, if you did that pre-recorded, you might get the timing might be off, because if you said a joke and you just kind of sat there and just waited for people, that might be strange. It depends. It honestly depends. But there are some cons. I've not changed the subtitles. Oops, look at that. But anyway, first time doing it. But these are the cons of things going wrong with live and pre-recorded. It's just things to be aware of. It's nothing to panic over, but it's just things to keep in mind. One of them is, again, when it's live, things like this might happen where I get the subtitle wrong, and the subheading wrong, sorry, and you're like, oh no, and you're panicking, you're like, okay, or whatever. And if it's your first time doing it, it can be daunting. I'll tell you a funny story quickly. I did my first gig for performances in May, but then I did one where I performed in August, and that was cool. I also did 2 virtual performances back to back. Don't do that. And the short version is I kicked everybody out by accident halfway through. So I was halfway through a song, I was singing, and I pressed a button, which obviously meant that was the kick out button, and everyone was like, why can't I say anything now? I wanted to cry so badly. But let everyone back in. If things like that happen, like you would in in-person performance, let everyone back in. Just say sorry about that, folks. Maybe don't mention that you kicked everybody out, but just carry on like you would anything. You can't control technology failing. I am going to go over things like internet, and if you have a dodgy internet connection, how you can make that a bit stronger, or how to like troubleshoot that all. But you can't help it if it fails live. Just have a contingency plan. Find have someone like a co-host and have them say, okay, I'm taking over now. This is what's going to happen. Might need to postpone it, whatever. That's something that happened. And it is hard, like I said, it's harder to respond to people in real time. With pre-recorded, again, personal opinion, it does feel kind of impersonal, but it is subjective because, again, if you're a theatre person, if you're a dancer, that doesn't really matter because people want to see the whole thing. But if you're a comedian or a poet, you might, I know some poets, and they might change up the performance halfway through. You know, they might feel, it just feels kind of like they're talking to you. And some people are like, well, I can see that on Instagram. You know, I can see that on Twitter. So then it just feels a little bit of a disconnect there. But again, personal opinion, you can, like, whatever you choose to do, it's up to you. How to convince people to attend, that again, that's a social media thing. That's my social media brain going. And with both, that I put that in pre-recorded, but with both versions, I'm going to go over something. Do you guys know what CPU is, which is computer space? Do you know what that is? So some of you are saying yes, some of you are saying no. Type in the chat as well. CPU is just like how much your computer, like memory your computer needs to run. So for example, I'm doing Zoom and I've got, stupidly, I have Spotify open as well. So that's to use a bit of CPU on my computer. Now, if you're a DJ and you're doing, you know, your DJ sets, you've got the DJ thing in, you've got the computer program, you've got Zoom, you've got whatever. I put this in pre-recorded, but in both, it does use a lot of CPU. I am going to go over how you can circumvent that, but it is something to be mindful of. So if you have a rubbish laptop, you know, China a new one, or maybe use your phone, or maybe get a friend to do it, or even change your set and make it acoustic or something. Just be mindful that depending on what you do, it can use a lot of CPU. And I think with pre-recording, like, because of the actual recording itself is a lot of memory, and then having to put that on Zoom, and then having to have the chat, it does use a lot of CPU. So I put that in a pre-recorded thing, but now thinking of it, it is both. But like I said, have your backups, have tech rehearsals, you'll be fine. All right, how are we for time? We good?